A vital artery connecting the United States to Alaska has been severed, cutting off a lifeline that has linked communities and economies for generations, not by disaster, but by politics. In a move that stunned both nations, the border was closed not due to natural catastrophe, but as a result of escalating diplomatic tensions. On November 1, 2025, Canada closed the Alaska Highway to most U.S. traffic, sending shockwaves across North America and leaving thousands scrambling for answers. This move isolates Alaska, a state deeply reliant on this land route for goods, medical supplies, and connection to the rest of the country. For many, it's the only practical way in or out. The closure is a stark symbol of a friendship under strain, testing the US-Canada relationship like never before, and raising fears about the future of cross-border cooperation. For decades, the highway stood for cooperation and shared purpose. Now it's become a line in the sand, dividing neighbors and allies. The closure raises urgent questions about sovereignty, security, and economic interdependence, as well as the stability of long-standing trade routes. How did relations between these two close neighbors deteriorate so quickly, and what does it mean for the continent's future? This crisis is the result of months of rising tensions over trade, environmental policy, and military activity in the Arctic, with each side blaming the other for escalating the situation. Canada cites security concerns and the need to protect its sovereignty. The US sees provocation and an unnecessary escalation. The world is watching President Trump's administration for a response, as global markets and leaders brace for the fallout. Tonight we'll explore the highway's storied history, Canada's reasons for the shutdown, the US reaction, and the people caught in the middle of this unprecedented standoff. This is more than politics. It's about livelihoods, families, and a cross-border relationship now at a breaking point, with real consequences for everyday people. Let's break down the facts, examine the stakes, and consider what could happen next as this crisis unfolds. To truly grasp the depth of today's crisis, we must look back to the origins of a road that changed the fate of two nations. The Alaska Highway was born out of necessity during World War II, when the United States and Canada joined forces to defend Alaska from the looming threat of invasion. In 1942, against all odds, they constructed a 1,500-mile military road through unforgiving wilderness in just 8 months, a remarkable feat of engineering, determination, and international cooperation. After the war, the highway transformed from a military supply route into a vital economic corridor and a popular tourist route, connecting people and places that were once isolated. For Alaskans, it's the main land link to the lower 48, carrying everything from groceries and fuel to life-saving medical supplies, an essential artery for daily life. For Canada, the highway opened up the Yukon and northern British Columbia, connecting remote communities, spurring economic growth, and fueling development in regions once cut off from the rest of the country. The highway became a shared asset, a symbol of partnership and mutual benefit, strengthening the bond between two neighboring nations. Tourists from around the world now flock to drive its scenic route, supporting local economies and forging new connections with every mile. More than just pavement, it stands as a living monument to alliance, open borders, and the enduring spirit of cooperation. Its closure now is seen by many as a betrayal of that shared history, a sudden break in a lifeline that has united people for generations. The highway story is one of unity and resilience, now threatened by new barriers and growing division. That's why this shutdown is so much more than a logistical headache. It's a blow to the very foundation of trust and cooperation built over decades. It's a rupture in a legacy of trust, a stark reminder of how fragile even the strongest bonds can become. Canada says the closure is temporary and necessary for national security. The trigger: a US military convoy allegedly strayed near a sensitive Canadian facility in the Yukon, part of a pattern of uncoordinated troop movements. Canada claims repeated requests for better coordination were ignored, and US convoys have increased by 30% in 6 months. Environmental and safety concerns, fuel spills, accidents also played a role. Canada insists the closure is a last resort after failed diplomacy. The highway will stay closed to most US traffic until new protocols are agreed upon. Many analysts see this as leverage in broader disputes, tariffs, Arctic policy, and more. By closing the highway, Canada forces the US to the negotiating table. It's a calculated, high-stakes move. This crisis built up over weeks of escalating incidents. October 15th, Canadian border officials held a U.S. convoy for 12 hours, signaling stricter enforcement. October 22nd, Canada lodged a formal protest over uncoordinated U.S. military exercises. October 28th, a U.S. convoy, allegedly detoured toward a restricted Canadian facility, intercepted by the RCMP. The U.S. called it a navigational error. Canada saw a breach of protocol. Emergency meetings in Ottawa followed, and on October 31st, the U.S. Embassy was notified of the impending closure. November 1st, Canadian officers set up checkpoints, turning away U.S. vehicles. The White House called the move abrupt and unjustified. By November 3rd, trucks were stranded, and Alaska began to feel supply shortages. The diplomatic freeze had become a physical blockade. Tensions had finally boiled over into real-world consequences. The border, once open, was now a wall. Former President Trump's response was immediate and incendiary, igniting a firestorm of controversy across the nation. At a charged rally in Florida, he denounced Canada's move as a disgrace and a profound betrayal, vowing swift and forceful retaliation if necessary. On social media, Trump demanded massive tariffs on Canadian goods, calling for economic punishment and hinting at even more drastic action to come. "We built that highway. It's ours," he declared, his words fueling outrage and a sense of injustice among his loyal supporters. This heated rhetoric has pressured the current administration to take a much harder line, further complicating already delicate diplomacy. Many conservatives now see Canada's action as a deep sign of disrespect, blaming what they call weak leadership in Washington for the crisis. Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska called the closure a hostile act, demanding a swift and decisive resolution from the federal government. The political temperature is rising rapidly, narrowing the window for quiet diplomacy and making compromise increasingly difficult. The administration now faces a difficult dilemma: how to resolve Alaska's crisis without appearing weak or indecisive to the American public. Any concession to Canada could quickly become a major political liability, especially in an election year. Trump's intervention has transformed what began as a foreign policy challenge into a fierce domestic political battleground, dividing Americans. The crisis is now about American strength, national pride, and the country's global image, not just a highway dispute. The stakes have grown far beyond logistics, affecting trade, security, and the very fabric of U.S.-Canada relations. The path to resolution is now tangled in politics, with every move scrutinized and debated. The world is watching closely, waiting to see what America's next move will be in this escalating crisis. Beyond politics, the human cost is mounting. For Alaska's 730,000 residents, the highway is a lifeline, now abruptly cut. Families like the Millers, stranded in Tok, Alaska, wait anxiously as savings dwindle. American tourists and workers are stuck in Canada, facing uncertainty and mounting expenses. Canadian businesses lose customers, while communities scramble to help stranded travelers. The impact is acute for those with urgent needs, like a woman unable to drive her frail father to medical care in Seattle. Students wonder how they'll get home for the holidays. The closure severs personal ties and deepens Alaska's sense of isolation. Humanitarian travel is allowed case by case, but approvals are slow and unclear. Thousands are caught in limbo, paying the price for political deadlock. The economic fallout was immediate. Alaska depends on the highway for 40% of its inbound freight, $1.5 billion in goods annually. With the land route closed, grocery shelves are emptying, prices are soaring, and shipping costs have tripled. Construction projects are halted. Materials are stuck south of the border. Jobs are threatened, and critical infrastructure is delayed. Canadian businesses in the Yukon and northern BC are also suffering. Supplies are cut off, and tourism has collapsed. RV parks, restaurants, and shops along the highway are empty. The British Columbia Chamber of Commerce warns of catastrophic harm if the closure continues. The highway's shutdown is a blow to both economies. The longer it lasts, the deeper the damage. The pressure for a solution is mounting on both sides. Experts call this the most serious U.S.-Canada crisis in decades. Dr. Evelyn Reed of the Council on Foreign Relations says Canada's move is calculated, not impulsive, a bid for leverage after feeling ignored. She predicts Canada won't reopen the highway without new military transit agreements and progress on other disputes. Trump's rhetoric, she warns, only hardens Canada's resolve. The best hope quiet back-channel diplomacy, with both sides making concessions to save face. The US could agree to stricter notification rules in exchange for reopening the highway. The worst case, a trade war, with tariffs and retaliation hurting both economies. Legal challenges are possible but slow and uncertain. Dr. Reed believes economic and human costs will force the US to seek a deal. The key: resolve the crisis without appearing to capitulate. The next steps will shape North American relations for years. The world waits for leaders to act. The stakes could not be higher. The Alaska Highway's closure is a painful reminder that even close friendships can fracture. What was once a symbol of unity is now a barrier of division. The immediate priority: resolve the standoff for those most affected. Leaders must look past short-term politics and focus on repairing trust. Quiet negotiation is the only way forward. This crisis is a wake-up call. The US and Canada's relationship needs constant care. Rebuilding trust will take time and effort from both sides. Citizens must demand partnership, not brinkmanship. The bridge of friendship is damaged, but not beyond repair. Now is the time to start rebuilding for the future of North America.